No matter where your organization is headquartered, there will be a time when every company must deal with discrimination, stereotyping, sexism, or ageism. While there is a cultural component to each of these aspects, the overarching viewpoint remains fairly consistent around the world. None of these aspects are considered good or ethical. There are individual cultural components for each of these that could very well come into play depending on where your company is located. Thus, for this lesson, we will talk about each of these categories in a general context. I want to take a moment to speak about the global differences of these discriminatory aspects. One of the easiest or the most relevant ones to bring to light is that sexism potentially is not acknowledged by all citizens in some Middle Eastern or predominantly Muslim countries because of their cultural perspectives. In these patriarchal countries and cultures, generally women are not viewed as being equal to men, which by definition is sexism. While women's rights are not protected in these countries and cultures as they are in others, many citizens are very aware that sexism exists and that women experience it daily as a part of their culture. Similarly, there could be stereotype issues between regions and the rest of its country. For instance, Hong Kong was under the rule of Britain for a very long time, though it is now once again part of China. Thus, we could see how Chinese individuals could be a part of a global organization and work with individuals from Hong Kong, yet discriminate against them because of their British heritage. This global perspective is present around the world, but for the purposes of this lesson, we will define the individual diversity issues and talk about them in detail. First, let's make sure to identify and define each type of discrimination so we all have some common ground to work with. Discrimination. This aspect relates to treating people differently based on an unfair or unsubstantiated category. Simplified, it's denying the fair treatment of a person, which is prompted by some preconceived notion of who you think the person is. This can often be seen with race, nationality, gender, age, or religious affiliation. Not very nice, is it? As an example, let's look at Tom, who believes teenagers as a whole are disruptive. He owns a shoe store. Each time Tom meets a teenager, he automatically discriminates against that person, believing he or she will be disruptive and loud. Because of this, he refuses to hire any teenagers to work in his shoe store. He's discriminating against them. Stereotyping. Much like discrimination, stereotyping looks at individuals or people and generalizes them without thinking about any individual differences. We just looked at Tom, who discriminated against teenagers. In many ways, he stereotyped all teenagers into one group and then discriminated against them. Sexism. Sexism is a type of discrimination where predetermined ideas and thoughts are projected upon a person based on their sexual orientation or gender. Typically, this issue deals with men versus women, but it can go in just about any one of a number of directions. For example, Harold is a football player. He also happens to be gay. All the other players on his team do not want to shower when Harold is in the room. This is a type of sexism and homophobia. On the other hand, Jake wants to work for the franchise. However, Jake doesn't like contact sports and instead wants to join the cheerleading team. The players on the team, including Harold, tease Jake for joining the cheerleaders. This is also sexism since cheerleading is believed to be a predominantly female sport. Ageism. Ageism is very much like sexism, only because it questions a specific aspect of an individual, in this case, age. Remember, Tom? He doesn't want to hire teenagers because he thinks they're disruptive. He also believes they are immature, loud, and moody. Yes, this is stereotyping and discrimination, but because Tom is over 40, this is also ageism. He believes that people of a certain age group cannot do the same job that another group can. In fact, Tom also refuses to hire retired people who want a part-time job. He believes that anyone as old as that must not know the technology he uses in his shoe store. He doesn't want to take the time to teach them, and he's worried they may break his expensive system. Organizations deal with diversity in any one of a number of different ways. Once again, remember that things vary depending on the country and to some extent the organization. For example, in many Asian markets, older individuals are considered wise and very valuable. Thus, in these Asian cultures, ageism of elders would not be an issue. However, it could be an issue as older people look at younger people as not being well seasoned. An Israeli company could discriminate against Muslim individuals based on their cultural beliefs. In this instance, the organization does not deal with the issue because it is a part of a deep-rooted history and culture. In some countries, men carry with them a degree of macho bravado and look at women as the lesser of the two genders. Once again, this aspect is irrelevant to the organization when we realize the culture that the organization resides in. Discrimination takes on a unique perspective when there is an organization headquartered in one country but has offices in multiple countries around the world. Think for a moment of a US-based company that has a US-based human resource department dealing with issues of sexism or discrimination around the world based on culture. Thus, many organizations train their human resources individuals to understand diverse cultures. They're working with them to better deal with these issues as they arise. Some organizations may also offer classes that promote working in a diverse setting or working against discrimination. Human resource managers from global organizations go through extensive training to fully understand all the dynamics that are in play with a diverse global workforce. Every organization has policies to deal with the aspects of discrimination, stereotyping, sexism, and ageism. I do not want you to believe that every organization has detailed plans, nor that each one addresses each one of these aspects to the same detail. However, discrimination and the actions taken against it is often based on culture, and each organization will deal with these aspects in their own way.